We're going to call the meeting to order. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a draft agenda in front of us. Can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll move.
Jake, support?
Support.
Nick? All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All right, a couple housekeeping items. Kelly is absent tonight. She wanted me to let you know she sends regrets and that she was invited to speak at the National Summer Learning Summit in Washington, D.C. So congratulations to Kelly, and we wish her luck on that. And then also, we were reminded to please use your microphone. So if you want to speak during the meeting, just make sure you got that green light on. That helps people here in the back of the room. And with that, we'll get started. Up first is our recognition. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you. Tonight we have our video for Middle School Students of the Month.
This is Layton, daughter of Christy and Ben Layton, likes to play soccer, basketball, and also likes arts and crafts. When she grows up, she would like to be a doctor or a vet, and when asked how she felt about being selected as a Student of the Month, she said that it made her feel really proud and confident. Layton was selected for modeling respect, responsibility, and collaboration.
I love that we get to learn a lot of new things every day, and the freedom, like when we have time to catch up on different things like homework and everything else that you need to catch up on, and the teachers are really nice. It makes me feel really good that I was one of the 2 6th graders out of the entire school, and it makes me feel like every bad thing I've ever thought is wrong. When I grow up, I want to be either a doctor or a vet or something like that, medical category.
This is Caleb. Caleb is the son of Leanne and Chris. Caleb likes to play soccer and basketball, and when he grows up, he would like to be a YouTuber, a pilot, or a soccer player. When asked how he felt about being selected, Caleb said that it is good to know that what he is doing is being seen by other people. Caleb was selected for modeling respect, responsibility, and collaboration.
Probably the teachers and art and PE is really fun. That I was chosen out of the many people that I'm one of them that did good in class. A few things, a pilot, a YouTuber, or a soccer player.
This is Sienna, daughter of Dan and Trisha. Sienna likes to participate in debate club, stage crew, and choir. Sienna would like to be a doctor when she grows up. When asked how she felt by being selected as a Student of the Month, Sienna said that she felt very proud of herself. Sienna was selected for modeling the values of respect, collaboration, and responsibility.
Probably the social and learning aspects. I really like school. I like everything about it. I was chosen out of a bunch of people as a role model. Probably a doctor or a teacher.
This is Luke, son of Mike and Christina. Luke likes to play tennis, hockey, and baseball. He would like to be a national park ranger when he grows up. When asked how he felt about being selected as a Student of the Month, Luke said that he felt a sense of pride. Luke was selected for modeling the values of respect, collaboration, and responsibility.
I really like science and just nature and stuff, and I like how it's a fun learning experience. It gives me a sense of accomplishment and just pride. I really want to be a national park ranger because I just think what they do is really cool.
This is Jaden, son of Ron and Becca. Jaden likes to play tennis, video games, golf, and he also likes watching football. When he grows up, Jaden doesn't know yet what he wants to do, but he will find out when he finds out. When asked how he felt about being selected as a Student of the Month, Jaden mentioned that it is nice to see that people notice what he does. Jaden was selected for modeling the principles and values of respect, collaboration, and responsibility.
Just hanging out with friends, having fun. Just cool that people recognize what I'm doing. I have no clue. Probably something in finance, but we'll see.
This is Eali's daughter of Derek and Esmeralda. Eali likes cross country, and when she grows up, she would like to be somebody who studies space, and she would like to work at NASA. When asked how she felt about being selected as a Student of the Month. She felt like she is on top of the world. Ali was selected for modeling the values of respect, collaboration, and responsibility.
I really like history class and like doing projects in there. I also like that we get the time to work on any extra homework for WIN. It makes me feel good about myself that I can achieve great things, and that deep inside, even though I've had some bad thoughts, it just makes me feel good. I want to be somebody who studies the physics of space, so an astrophysicist.
Addison Kay is a 6th grade student on our Dirksen and McDuffie team. Parents are Catherine and Tyler. Addison has one sibling named Brooklyn, as well as a cat named Curtis and a dog named Molly. Addison attended Meadow Ridge Elementary School and is involved in dance and sings in the choir at NRMS.
When I grow up, I want to be a designer because I like to draw dresses and skirts. My favorite thing about school is in the mornings, me and my friends like to go to the library to hang out and check out books. I would rather win the lottery because then I wouldn't have to worry about working and stuff like that.
Leo H. is a 6th grade student on our Dirksen and McDuffie team. Parents are Sarah and Eric. Leo has 2 siblings named Ava and Jovi, as well as a dog named Drake and a cat named Frank. Leo attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in soccer and sings in the choir at NRMS.
When I grow up, I want to have my own fishing charter company. My favorite thing about school is I get to see my teachers and play with my friends. I'd rather win the lottery because then I can just invest the money, so then I can just make more.
Addie S. is a 7th grade student. Parents are Tina and Brian. Addie has one sibling named Max, as well as a dog named Maggie and a fish named Parmesan. Addie attended Belmont Elementary School and plays cello in the orchestra.
When I grow up, I want to be a biologist because I like science and nature. My favorite subject is STEAM because we do fun activities. I'd want to be stranded with Annie Oakley because she can shoot stuff for us to eat, and I've always wanted to meet her. It's an honor to be selected, and it shows that my hard work is noticed.
Nick K. is a 7th grade student. Parents are Laura and Philip. Nick has one sibling named Maddie, as well as 2 cats named Lucy and Nala. Nick attended Roguewood Elementary School and is active in St. Cecilia's Orchestra, playing violin, and is active in karate.
When I'm older, I want to be an astrophysicist or something along the lines of physics and engineering. Really the learning environment. I really like being able to see my friends and learning things I really like. Stranded on a deserted island with Bear Grylls because he has a lot of very good survival skills. Well, academic validation is all I strive for because I don't really like sports very much, so it makes me feel really honored.
Izzy S. is an 8th grade student. Parents are Alicia and Steven. Izzy has 3 siblings named Madison, Johnny, and Lily, as well as a cat named Bob and 2 dogs named Charlie and Benny. Izzy attended Parkside Elementary School and is active in dance and competitive gymnastics.
When I'm older, I want to do real estate with my dad. My favorite thing about school is seeing my friends. If I had $1 million, I'd split it with my family and go to Japan. To be selected as Student of the Month, I feel honored and lucky because a lot of students haven't been selected all the time.
Reese W. is an 8th grade student. Parents are Jamie and James. Reese has one sibling named Davis. Reese attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in water polo, golf, snowboarding, and skiing.
What I want to be when I grow up is a veterinarian. I just want to work with animals. My favorite thing about school is probably lunch and hanging around kids in my grade. If I had $1 million, I would splash the cash. It means that my hard work is paying off, and I'm super honored.
Do we happen to have any students in the audience with us tonight? If you're not too shy, if you want to stand up and be recognized. Thank you very much for coming tonight, and congratulations on your well-deserved recognition. You're welcome to stay, but if you'd like to leave, we'll give you a moment to do that now. All right, we're moving on then to our consent agenda items tonight. We have 5 items on the list. Approval of minutes from our September meeting, presentation of bills in the amount of $14.6 million, certified staff resignation, fall coaches, and fall extra duty assignments. Can I have a motion to approve our consent agenda items?
I'll move.
Jake moves, and second?
A second.
Christy? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
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 All right, thanks, everybody. On to new business number 1, new certified staff. Dr. Matthews?
Thank you, and we will turn to Ms. Corey Wilson-Crawford.
Thank you. This isn't the Grow Your Own initiative yet, but both of the staff that you will see in the packet this afternoon or evening are candidates that we grew here in Rockford. And both of these candidates have served in different capacities, and now they have attained teaching certificates, and we have 2 openings, and they are perfect for them. So you'll see the information in your packet, and I'm happy to field any questions you might have.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the new certified staff?
So moved.
Tricia, and second? Christy, any questions or discussion for Corey? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Thanks very much. And then we're on to superintendent evaluation timeline. Dr. Matthews?
Thank you, Mr. Folsom. As you are aware, it's the responsibility of the Board of Education to evaluate the superintendent, and so tonight I provide you with kind of a summary of what that looks like. As you are aware, it needs to be an annual evaluation, and you will be able to choose a rating of highly effective, effective, minimally effective, or ineffective. There's a student growth component to the superintendent evaluation, just as there is to all certified staff in the district. 40% of the annual evaluation has to be based on growth and assessment data, and the student growth and assessment data used for the superintendent evaluation must be the combined student growth and assessment data used in teacher annual year-end evaluations for the entire district. There are a variety of other factors that the state of Michigan and the legislature have identified that you have to consider. And then one of the requirements is that those board members who participate in the evaluation of the superintendent have to have been trained, and I believe that everyone on our board has been trained. And so the timeline really is as follows. By November 1st, documentation will be provided to the Board of Education, including a completed self-evaluation. By November 8th, individual trustees will complete their own independent evaluation rubric and submit it to the Human Resource Committee chairperson. By November 15th, the Board of Education Human Resources Committee meets to review the documentation and create a preliminary recommendation to the full board. By December 1st, the Human Resource Committee will meet with me to review the preliminary evaluation and provide me with some feedback. And then on December 11th, at the regularly scheduled board meeting, the full board will review in closed session with the superintendent the final evaluation, and then we'll vote in open session on the evaluation. And so that's kind of the timeline that we have coming up over the next couple of months.
Okay, thank you. No action for us tonight. Just want to make sure we took the opportunity to review that so you were aware of those key dates in the timeline.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What is the rush? And the reason that I ask that is because, yes, we did the training, but I'm not really comfortable with some of the things on the training. And I was hoping to have some conversation with the board about some of those things.
Well, so I'm not sure about the part of the question that refers to this as being a rush. It's a pretty typical timeline to complete the evaluation by the year. But to your other question, I think there'll be opportunity for us to have that discussion as a full board when we meet to compile and complete the evaluation and discuss the evaluation. So I would just say that would be the opportunity to do that.
Will there be an opportunity to change? And the reason I'm asking is because there's how many things were considered mandatory? How many things were highlighted in red? Were there 5, 3 of the 35?
I don't know the number offhand.
Okay.
There are
but
some
we will be
items.
able to discuss that after.
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions you have, we'll make sure we answer those, and then we'll have discussion of your individual ratings. We'll need to come together on a group kind of consensus rating overall, but that meeting will be our opportunity to do that as a group.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions? Okay. We are on then to new business number 3, MASB voting delegates.
So the Michigan Association of School Boards holds their annual delegate assembly And the Board of Education can have a representative to participate in the delegate assembly. You have to, at a board meeting, identify the delegate and any alternates named by the board, because then Ms. Nestor will complete the certification through the MASB website, and only those members who are delegates and alternates may participate in the delegate assembly. And that has to be completed by October 27th. So we bring that to your attention this evening. The delegate assembly begins Thursday, November 9th at 7 p.m. at the Lansing Center in Lansing.
The key date there was October 27th. Did I hear that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that as the board, you have to identify who would be selected by your board so that they can participate in the delegate assembly, and it has to be done, I believe, at a public meeting.
So we need a delegate and an alternate?
Yes.
Mr.
Okay.
President.
Yeah.
Our district size, we can have, I believe, four.
Ah.
So in the past, we've had multiple. So I just remind the board that it's in Lansing, and it's a Thursday evening, November 9th.
And that's the kickoff of the annual conference, right?
The next day is.
The next day
yes.
starts the conference, yeah. So you'll be at the conference, right?
I will be there Thursday and probably Friday. So
Okay. And I'll be at
I
the
will
conference
go.
as well. So Nick and I can go. We don't have to have four,
No,
right?
we don't.
Yeah. I'm not aware of anybody else planning to be at the conference at that time, at this point. If that changes, we can,
I have a conflict on that day. So
yeah. Totally fine.
I'm
Yeah.
not able to.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to point out, it's more than one for our district size.
Yeah,
We're-
appreciate that.
we're just under the top.
Do we need to move and vote?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll enter a motion that Nick and I attend as delegates on our behalf at the conference. Can I have a support?
I will support that.
Nick will support that. Any other discussion? Thanks, Nick. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Awesome. All right, looking forward to it. All right, so we're on to new business number 4, new servers approval.
And I will turn to Mr. Cuneo, who will present this motion for the board.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Yeah, this was reviewed by Building and Site at our September Building and Site meeting. With the expansion of cameras that we have in the district, and actually future expansion that we have, not only in the buildings but also at the bus level, there's a need for additional storage capacity for some of the new expansion of our security systems. So we basically received 3 bids. The recommendation is to utilize the servers from Harbor Solution, which is a low bid, for $55,984, and this would actually be paid out of the State of Michigan Safety Grant, not of our bond funds. So the State of Michigan Safety Grant allows for this sort of purchase. This fits within that criteria, and that is the recommendation to the board.
So we would ask the board to approve that recommendation this evening.
Okay, I have a motion.
A motion.
Christy, support?
I'll support.
Jake, any questions for Mr. Cuneo? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. That concludes new business. We're into reports. First up is our student representative, Camille.
Hello, I'm Camille Balke, and the first thing I'm going to talk about is our homecoming assembly. First, we had our assembly on the 29th of September, and this was kind of the introduction of the whole homecoming. And this is our court, our court. And then the following day, we had our dance at night, and it was glow themed the whole night. So we had glow, golf, and a photo booth, and the DJ was really nice, and we had snacks, refreshments, all that stuff. And then the following week, we actually had our game this past Friday. So we had our spirit week throughout the week, we had a pep rally, and powder puff was also a big thing that we love to do, which is juniors versus seniors, girls play football.
And who won?
The seniors. And our clubs, National Honor Society proposes their leadership projects, and this is something that they do throughout the whole year, so I'm really excited to show you guys some of the things that they propose later on. And the Thespian Club has their annual can drive to Hump Them Fund. We have college reps that come in throughout the months, and this is really helpful, especially through October. It's really stressful with admissions into college, and I feel like the counselors do a really good job too in a big class. Like, we each get to sit down with the counselor, and it makes it feel really relieving to have somebody with you, even in a huge class. We do have a presentation on youth vaping dangers, and I think this is really cool too. This is not just for students, but also parents that may not know how to cope with a student that has a problem with this. I think it's a really cool opportunity to hear about that. And then there's also a new club too, the Ram League, and this is for Dungeons and Dragons, foosball, and laser tag, which I think is a cool club. And then athletics, as we wrap up kind of the fall season, we have a lot going on. Today was tennis conference. All I've heard is that 1 and 2 are conference champions. I haven't heard anything else. Golf, the girls' golf was conference championship. Volleyball, tomorrow's their senior night. Football, if they win on Friday, they'll win the conference, or the OK Red. Soccer has their conference today. Water polo is the districts. Girls field hockey had their cancer game, which was really fun. Cross country, OK Red, the girls were 3rd and boys were 5th. And then coming up, we have our trunk or treat, which is where all the high school students get to pass out candy to the little kids. And then we have Star for a Day, which we started up actually last month. And this is where we recognize the high school students. Each teacher gets to pick a student, and then they come down to the student council room, get a little treat, and then they just get recognized for their good deeds. And we also have a big North Kent Connect food drive coming up. Any questions?
Questions for Camille? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate the report. Up next is collaborative team reports. Dr. Matthews?
Thank you. And tonight, the elementary collaborative team report will be presented by Ms. Olette.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Matthews and board. And it was a pleasure to come and address you and tell you about our wonderful elementary schools. So October is off to a busy start. From an instructional standpoint, our students are engaged in quality instruction led by our teachers. Additionally, all of our teachers are working with building instructional coaches and are working on their Tier 1 action plan. Planning allows our teachers to take current student data and make instructional shifts within the curriculum to meet student needs. Additionally, students are using that very valuable early release days, and they're working through their PLC or their professional learning community. So during this time, they work as grade level teams, and they create lessons again based on their most current student data. PLC time is allowing our teachers to constantly evaluate their students' progress and their needs, and to create differentiated lessons right within a week or in a day. So the work that they're doing in their PLC, we're seeing that work then take fruition in that same week during flex time. So we are really appreciative of that time. As a building leader, as I walk the halls, I have seen our teams grow in their use of that PLC time, and that this gift of a consistent 90 minutes on the schedule is allowing them to be in a rhythm and a pattern of meetings. So we're so appreciative of that time, and that's definitely noticing it with our students, definitely noticing it with that flex time. Grade level teachers have or will attend a math training that is put on by Mrs. Thalen and Lisa Abramowski. And we have many teachers in the district that are volunteering to do a training called the Letters Training. In addition, we have STEAM or STEM classes at all of our elementary schools, and that is generating a lot of excitement for our students. So we appreciate all the work that these teachers are doing, and they're creating engaging lessons. Our students love STEAM, or as one of my kindergartners calls it, smoke. So, Mom came in and I said, oh, I'll go get him, he's in the STEAM room. She goes, well, we call it smoke at our house, and he's going to be really disappointed. So. All right, so shifting away from academics, our schools are super busy in the fall. Fall fundraisers are up and running or wrapping up. There's a lot of spirit and excitement around those, and always with the hope of a principal getting a pie in the face or having a sleep on a roof. I know this principal on Wednesday will be getting a couple pies in the face. So just appreciative again of our PTOs and then our communities and our school families that support our PTOs, that just allow them to turn around and support all the amazing things that we can do. So appreciative of that. There's a lot of fall family events, some family fall nights. I know that Crestwood has one, Belmont has one, I think a couple other schools do as well. We are enjoying visits from our fall athletes on Fridays. Again, a lot of Ram pride and Ram spirit. I don't think the kids really know what team the kids play for. They just love that there's orange and black and they're getting an extra recess. So we are enjoying that. So again, if you need a dose of energy and fun, I think an elementary is the place to be. I am enjoying it, and we're off to a great start. Any questions?
Can you remind the board tier 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
Is it the students with most support or the students that need the least?
Tier 1 is what all of our students get. So that is, so during that PLC time, or those early release times, it's not just instruction for a few, it's instruction for all. So it's looking at that data, but we might answer those questions of, if a student already gets it, what can we do then to extend the learning? If a student needs support on that, what can we do to support? But tier 1 is all the instruction all students should get.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Olet. And our secondary report will be presented by Dr. Amshin.
Hi. Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Matthews, Board of Education Central Office. It's always a pleasure to be here to report on our secondary buildings, 6th through 12th grade. Starting out, we would just talk about how excited we are to start seeing our parents. In the past month, we had both our first Parent Advisory Council meetings, and then we also hosted parent-teacher conferences in all of our secondary buildings. It's just a great opportunity to see people, especially after a couple of years where we didn't get to engage with our parents as much as we wanted to. So all of the buildings had one night of in-person for parent-teacher conferences, and then the other night we still offered that virtual option, just give some of our parents the flexibility that they desire while still being able to connect with all of their students' teachers. At our Parent Advisory Council meetings, we do hold those via Google Meet because it's during the school day, and so a lot of our parents are working and they have the opportunity to kind of step aside and participate in that meeting. But it, again, offers us an opportunity to share the goings on that happen in our building and then also receive some feedback, questions, and things like that from our parents. So we really appreciate that as well. At the Freshman Center in particular, we only get to work with our parents and their students for 1 year. So we really try to, at the start of the year, get to know those people as well as we can. So we actually sent a parent input survey to our families recently just to learn about how the start of school went from their perspective and what kinds of things we could do better. Really always gives us valuable feedback on maybe things we could do a better job communicating with or things that our parents are looking for from us so that we can best support them as they raise their students and work with us for their education. To echo what Shannon said, we can't thank you enough for this collaborative calendar. Having that second early release each month is a complete difference maker for our collaborative team. So, you know, our earth science teachers can get together and they can talk about how the students did on an assessment in a timely manner so that they can go back and support those students or improve their instruction. And having, again, just that second time is really, really meaningful for us as far as how our trimester calendar goes. So thank you very much for that. And then just moving over to the most important thing, our students, Camille talked about many of these things, but Camille, I would just add to your report a bit that the marching band had a really exciting weekend. So they competed in Toledo. They earned, at the regionals, they earned first place in the AAA for the first time ever. So congratulations to our marching band, third place overall in regionals. So really, really cool there. At North Rockford Middle School, they have started a Principals Leadership Council, and they are taking applications from their students who want to work on an advisory committee with their principal to improve that school climate, which is really neat. At the Freshman Center, our counselors are making a really strategic effort to connect with our students, as we said early in the year, figure out which freshmen are interested in programs like KCTC or other programs that they might want to target specific communication for. So really helped our counselors to get to know a little bit about our students and what needs they might have so that they can program accordingly. And then we just have tremendous students in leadership positions all around our building. Student council is a great example of that, but a lot of other student led clubs and groups. And that is our secondary report. Any questions I can answer for you? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you. Okay, on to reports item number 3, student achievement.
And I will turn this over to Mike Graham, who's our Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, and he will present a report kind of summarizing some of our student achievement insights for the district. Mr. Rand.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. So each fall for the last few years, I've given you a bit of a summary, kind of a higher view of our student achievement as we look at, kind of 1 year in cycle. And as just a quick reminder, we have 2 different major forms of assessment in our district. Of course, we have state assessments. That is grades 3 through 8 use the M-STEP, also grade 11 uses the M-STEP. Primarily, we're going to look today at English language arts and math, but there is a science and social studies component in that respect as well. The second data point that we use is called NWA testing or benchmark testing. We use that in grades K through 8 and then in 9th grade algebra, but K through 8 in math and ELA as well. And that K through 8 or NWA testing is a test that we use multiple times during the school year. And then the state assessment is a test that's given 1 time during the school year. So we kind of look at the data pieces in combination. And then we, as you've heard, use some of our data dialogue to look at some trends in students and content areas and buildings and across the district and try to make some decisions based on those. So it's consistently a cycle that we go through, and it's part of our culture to consider what some of those insights mean and how they direct some of our behaviors. So just a couple of overall statements for you. Generally speaking, when you look at NWA and state assessments, our district shows increasing trends, and what we're hoping for is the idea that we can have incremental increases and a pattern of them. We don't expect that because we do something one time, we're all of a sudden going to take 700 students and just, skyrocket. But incrementally, we're working on our system so that it becomes more predictable and every student achieves at a high level. So we're going to have areas where we did see high gains in specific buildings or in our populations in general. And then there are areas that we see where there's going to be a maintain or even a dip, and then we would program for that as well too. But as a general statement, especially when we think about the pandemic, our student achievement is at a higher level or at a maintained level. But for the most part, and I'll show you some graphs, we're exceeding those levels and we're making incremental gains every year. Our teaching practices, as you've heard some testimony here, are becoming more focused. We're using this inquiry cycle concept where we teach, we assess, we reflect, we adjust. And so that's happening at every scale model in our district, not only in classrooms and buildings, but at the district as well too. So we're thinking about which behaviors most effectively increase student achievement. We're trying to replicate that. And we're thinking about this idea of very much taking this data and saying, how does it impact daily classroom instruction? And so breaking down into pieces where trends are necessary to say, maybe our students aren't performing very well on a specific component of the PSAT. How are we focused in that and strengthening that content area in our algebra classes or in our geometry classes? And we're making those shifts with teachers' input about how instruction can be responded to. So our system is really tightening. I'm very proud of that for the idea that we know, again, if we do this, maybe this comes up. Right? Or if we do this, then this comes up, where you look at populations and content areas and so forth. You heard a lot about the professional learning communities focus. So we've broken our district into collaborative teams by building, by grade, by content area. And so we're leading those individual teams to look at data and pivot, as you mentioned, as you heard here, around our instructional calendar to think about how they can impact student learning for everybody. And so we try to do that at the highest level. Just a bit of a slide here that talks a little bit about some of our focus areas and the practices that we've been implementing. So you see in the fall of 2021, we kind of started this PLC restart, and that's been pretty consistent and permeated each of our years. The more depth we build within our professional learning community structure, the more there is to do, and the more focus becomes clear. So in 2023, we see that professional learning communities practices still evident, as well as some specific content components. So think of that collaborative structure as applicable to everybody. Then we look at specific and high quality instructional practices for specific groups and content specific practices for specific groups. So you see that we're working this year specifically on a DK through 12 math instructional design, and so that will be a focus and training for all teachers. We're pursuing some middle school social studies alignment, and we're thinking about some general high quality instructional practices. So overall, those are some of the big pieces that we're moving towards. And when we start to look at the data here in our district, then we can start to think about, opportunities or ways in which we will consider year-to-year piece. So this is a graph, big picture, including all students in 3rd through 8th grade, that consider 2019 to 23. And so for the most part, what we want to see is, remember, this is M-STEP data, so this suggests that this is the one time a year in the spring. So what we hopefully want to see is that we're having incremental progress. And when we're not, like let's say in 7th grade this year, we took a dip in 7th grade. That allows us to say, okay, how can we investigate and how can we make some changes? So as an example, in 6th grade last year, in 2022, we looked at some math pieces, we made some instructional shifts, all right, and we had a bit of a change. So there was some opportunity for us to reflect. This gives us a large scale that we can build, that we can drill down into by building and even by grade or content area. So we can look at this multiple ways. We can also take this data as well as the next graph and look at student groups and try to think about the lens in which that provides as well. So here's a math overall for M-STEP, and then if we look at the math overall for NWEA, you see a very high achievement level in the NWEA data. Remember, this is 3 times per year, even though we are looking at the beginning of each year, so that we have the data set that's consistent. So a very high achievement level with some exploration, if you will, when it comes to some of the blue line being our most recent set of data. So again, we follow trends in this way. Pleased with the achievement, but this gives us some questions sometimes as to where we can peek in and put some specific efforts. If we look at our ELA data for the year, you'll see an improvement or a maintain, again, in most areas, or most of all areas, I should say. And so through ELA, again, we're looking at our achievement through the M-STEP, and this is 4 years. We're looking at the purple line being the most recent line. Incrementally, for the most part, when you look at it in summary, we're moving up though, let's say in 5th grade. We have an opportunity to look at 5th grade and say, what was different about 5th grade this year? Was it curriculum? Was it instruction? Was it population? How can we investigate? So this data gives us some really good clues as to say, as a team, what can we do to understand and respond? And then our NWA data for the last 4 falls suggests in this piece, remember 3 times a year, an increasing trend over time. So we're putting effort and resources into these 2 particular areas, and we're tracking our data to then think about what differences are being made, how are we aligning our collaborative work, what curriculum shifts are we making, what instructional shifts are we making, is there professional learning opportunities that we can do. But we're not doing it haphazardly. There's strategy behind it, because we can break this down and say, here's our why. We have a need in a certain area, say 8th grade here, right? So 8th grade data suggested we have 2 data points, maybe both of them are at a maintain level. In 8th grade, what tweaks can we make? We have a couple data pieces that says, all right, there's some opportunity there. So it gives us great clarity about how to make some strategic moves. And what we often see is when we do that, we're able to move those numbers, and our goal is to maintain and increase each year. 2 other areas to look at include science. For the last, this is 2-year comparison for M-STEP. So the black line is 2022, and the golden line is 2023. So in this graph, what would be suggested is some incremental gains in 5th, 8th, and 11th grade science achievement. I should mention too, in science and math, in the state assessment components, our scores generally are going to rank within the top 3 schools in the county. And so we look at that, and that's great. But we also look broader than that, around to the state level, and consider some of the schools that are high achieving schools, try to build some networks with those schools, and learn about some of those practices as well too. So our goal is to be the highest achieving school in the state, right? So incrementally, we want to work towards that. We want to align our staff to do that and continue to make that progress. So as a general rule, Rockford Public Schools achieves pretty high, but there's certainly opportunity for us to keep going, obviously. This is a social studies trend. Now, I'm particularly proud of that 5th grade number because last year when I presented this to you, our social studies had a large emphasis to it. For whatever reason, our student achievement was a little bit lower. You see that number there as well too. And while these numbers are a little bit skewed, right? So you say, well, 50% of your kids are proficient in 8th grade. Well, that's actually, for whatever reason, the state assessments have these benchmarking numbers that are not equal, okay? So 50% is going to rank very high for benchmarking, even though it doesn't feel like that. But you're particularly proud of that 5th grade jump that they did. And you can see, I think, in the behaviors around the adult collaboration that happened, that there was immediately an increase with that. So there was great focus and some shifts, and I thought that our teachers and those that were leading that work had a great payoff there, and we'll continue to build on that. When we look at our PSAT, this is a 9th grade test. And so we look at the 3 years of data here, and again, we're kind of in an increasing area. We have math in the blue, and evidence-based reading and writing in the orange. So again, we're looking for a bit of an increase, and here, from last year, this is 10, so we're going to see 9, 10, and 11 PSAT, and then finally SAT. We are at generally in the same ballpark, a little bit of a bump from last year. When we look at our SAT from this past year, we're at or above levels from 2 years ago, but took a bit of a dip in our overall proficiency for this year. Now, when we look at the SAT, what we have to think about too for this is 3 different groups of students. So when we look at MSTEP or NWA, we can follow cohorts of kids. The difference with the SAT is that you have a different population of kids every single year. So our challenge is to take the SAT data, link it back to 8th grade, incrementally program for 9th, 10th, and then increase. I think we're getting better at understanding that. That's one of our focus areas for the future in that test as well. With this data, again, there's pieces that are broken down all the way to the classroom. We as principals have 3 data summits a year where we dig in and look at the pieces and think about some action steps, and then we go through this phase of design, assessment, and then we're in the phase right now where it says reflection and evaluation. And teachers, similarly, we talk about this idea of instructional agility. You heard it talked about here too. When we get a clue on information, we twist and we will make we'll make a change. And so we're in that phase now where we've done our assessment, we're looking at our reflection, our evaluation, and we're making changes for this year. At the classroom level, each time that we have early release, they look at data that's connected to this. Students learn, students don't learn. How does instruction change to promote learning for all? And we kind of are guided by a few of these questions when we look at the time all the way down the classroom collaborative team level. So our hope is that this year we have incremental change in all areas. We can target specific content areas and populations, and we know that the strategy that we put in place will have a higher learning impact on all of our students. With that, I'll take any questions.
I have a question.
Please.
Going through those graphs, it looked like there were some consistently dips in certain grades, for the most part. How much of that is curriculum-based versus outside dynamics? So like when a student moves from 1st grade to 2nd grade, there's a raise in expectations, 6th to 7th, a little bit of a raise in expectations. Does that have to do with some of those dips, or is that a different matter?
So, I mean, I think what we try to do is be self-reflective to what we can control first. So I think what we try to not do is say it's not on us. You know what I mean? What we try to say is what factors can we control that could look at that. So 2nd grade, for example, would be one which, we say, well, is there a curriculum issue that would promote something or not? We do know that there's an assessment issue where they have to read the test for the first time instead of listen to it, so we're investigating, right? But it's not a one simple answer. What I would say, the way we respond is the curriculum aligned to the best of the ability? The instructional practices, what are the assessment components that the students aren't receiving, or in the assessment content that they're not doing well on? So that's where we start before we think about maybe some of those other
factors. Some of those are standard, okay,
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I would just say, the M-STEP as a board member, it has very, very high level value
but in terms of in the classroom, it's a challenge. So when, 8 years ago, third grade English language was an issue heard around the world. I think we all remember what happened. So for me, I've been following them over the course of the career. So I had to wait 5 years to see what they looked like in 8th grade. They didn't take the test because it was COVID. So next year when they're in 11th, that's when I sort of have a look, because that was the cohort that took the test in 3rd grade. The next year, those kids were in 2nd grade, and they're taking it now in 3rd grade. So those are a little more difficult to follow because it's a different group of kids. So as a strategic thing, if there's like something that might offend me in a box, I look and I have to be patient and sort of wait 2 years or 3 years for them to take it in 5th, 8th, and then again in 11th. The NWE area, though, those are the powerful ones where obviously we can't look at the real detailed data because that's student information, which is protected. But in the classroom, that's where I really pay attention to the NWEA in the course of the year. And then next you can kind of see where, something that might have tripped me up last year. Okay, in 6th grade now they're making progress. So I think that's the hard thing about the data is it's different sets of kids, and that's if the test stayed the same, which we know doesn't always occur.
You make great points.
But that would be my advice, instead of throwing old pumpkins at the wall for 3rd graders this year, wait 2 years and really refine questions around that. That would be my advice. That's they know that's what I do. I've been following that one group for almost 8 years now.
So we call it cohort tracking, so Nick's point, you might have a 70% in 3rd grade, we have a whole new group of kids coming next year, they might be 85%, but your practices were the same, but where's that 3rd grade group as 4th graders? And our goal is to make that 70% 75, then 80, then 85, when we follow the same group of kids. And so that's Nick's point about that, which is certainly in our purview when it comes to our decision making.
I'd like to express appreciation to Mr. Ram and his office and the principals for the work that they do. They're very committed and focused on ensuring that we create great instructional practices for our students, and ultimately those practices will pay off. But the focus is on ensuring that we teach well, and if we're teaching well, then our students will perform well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next, item 4, our Spanish immersion report.
We're excited this evening to be able to have a report on our Spanish immersion program, and I don't know if Mr. Ram wants to introduce this at all, or if we should go right to Amy Santiago.
Well, I would do that, and I'm happy to introduce Amy Santiago, who's our Dean of Spanish Immersion. Amy is new to Rockford for a couple of years here and has made great progress with kind of standing back and watching the Spanish Immersion program for a little while. And we've invited her here today to kind of give a little bit of what is the landscape of Spanish Immersion. We know it's such a powerful program in our district, and then maybe what could some opportunity be in the future. So with that, I'll turn it over to Amy.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity, the board, central office, to our students. Thank you for being here. And before I get started, I would really like to see if staff and parents, and I see students out there that are part of the Spanish Immersion Program, if you could stand for us. Look at that. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Well, I'm here tonight to talk to you a little bit about our Spanish Immersion Program. I'm so excited to be a part of this program in this district. And what I'd like to do is just start a little bit about talking about what language immersion is. Before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about how this really is a great spot for Rockford. I think this adds to our portfolio here and draws families in. In fact, last week it was late last week, I had a family contact me. They came in for a tour, and they're shopping for a school district. And they're not just shopping for a school district, they're shopping for a school district that has a Spanish immersion program. And they're coming from far away. So they had a lot of poignant questions that they're asking. They took a tour through the school, and this really does draw families into our district. So I'm really proud to be a part of that. Shining star for our district, among many other things that we have here, but that's what makes Rockford stand out. We offer a great portfolio for our families. So what immersion education is, I want to give you a really brief background. This really in North America started in Quebec. And it started because in Quebec they were trying to protect the French language. Because English eats most other languages for lunch in North America, at least in the northern part of North America. And really what they were trying to do is preserve that language. So they started programs where they would have the content taught in French during the school day, and that way students would have that language preserved, because mostly outside of that they had a lot of English instruction and that they didn't have to worry about so much. So they had such great success there that the University of Minnesota decided, I wonder if we could take that same concept in the 60s and bring that to our state and pilot this, but have students learn a second language while they're learning content. And they weren't trying to preserve a language, they were simply trying to add a language, so it was language additive. And they had great success. And then from the 1960s now, this has just become something that many school districts are adding into their districts with many different languages. So I'm proud to be here on behalf of our Spanish immersion program. I want to talk to you a little bit about what that looks like. And for those of you who don't know much about what this really entails, the language that is learned in the classroom is learned through content, which sounds kind of crazy. So students aren't necessarily coming in and learning just language, grammar, vocabulary. They're coming in and learning the content, and alongside that, they're acquiring the language. Pretty crazy concept. So really what that looks like for a kindergartner would be coming in, instead of in a kindergarten classroom learning numbers, alphabets, syllables, putting all those sounds together, they're learning it in Spanish. Like their cohorts in their traditional English classrooms will be learning that in English. And then over time they start acquiring more vocabulary. So while they're learning their content, they're acquiring that language. So that up here is saying that the language is being taught specifically for instructional purposes. It's the medium that they're using to get the content, which is crazy. It's unbelievable that our kids are able to do that, and they're showing great success. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. The first thing here is the benefits. Obviously our parents are choosing immersion education for a reason. A lot of our parents are looking at this saying, wow, we really want our students to leave high school bilingual, biliterate. We want to give them that edge out in this global society. But there's so many other added benefits that come along with a second language, and that is academic achievement. We know that our students on standardized tests score the same or above in many cases as their peers who are just learning one language. Studies have shown that. There's been a lot of research on that. Along with that, we know that there is a cognitive add. There is a lot of research out there that says that when students arise to that high level of second language acquisition, there are so many added cognitive benefits in there. And that's really what we're hoping to achieve for our students. We're giving them all of the opportunities so that with high levels of language acquisition to also get that cognitive add. There's also a lot of benefits with problem solving, multitasking, creativity that is attributed to acquiring a second language. Obviously the career opportunities are out there. My children have graduated from a Spanish immersion program and have wonderful opportunities because of their second language. I hear stories from students that come back all the time and tell me about all the wonderful things that have happened, because when they said they could speak Spanish, their employer didn't really understand that they really could speak Spanish until they saw them in action, and immediately moved them into another area of greater importance because they needed them. And so it's very rewarding for me to hear those stories coming back from them. And then me, don't want to say my age, but at this point in my life as a second language speaker, that last one, long-term cognitive health, there are studies out there that say that it might actually delay dementia, or actually maybe I could avoid some of those things by being a language learner. So I'm really excited and probably should be studying a third language. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the pillars of language education. When we are forming a program, we want to make sure that we have cross-cultural competence, and our students naturally come by that in an immersion program. They see things with open eyes, they're curious about changes and differences, they ask questions. We are hoping that they are going to graduate bilingual and biliterate, and we do a lot of things to make sure that that happens. And obviously we are striving for academic achievement and excellence, just like we do in the rest of our programs here in Rockford Public Schools. So our program began with our first cohort, and that first group matriculated in 2005, 2006. We started with a kindergarten, first grade group. And then that first group graduated in 2018. So we've been around for 70 years now, so this is a solid program that we have many people to thank for, and we're getting better every year. So structure-wise, a lot of people wonder about immersion programs, like why do these kids learn English? And that's one of the worries that parents have when they first enter into a program. And it is important that in an immersion program, we start really heavy and intentional with that second language. And in our case, it would be Spanish. So in kindergarten, think about that. A kid is coming to school that hasn't had any Spanish at home, or very limited. So we are attending to monolingual students, which means at home they're speaking English. They come to school and they're learning Spanish that first moment that they walk in. Now we know that the first couple of weeks, teachers are using some English with them because they need to have some safety protocols and some instructions that they need to know. But the instruction that is happening in that class is 100% done in Spanish along with first grade. The English comes in second grade. We're very intentional about 30 minutes of English a day, and our fabulous second grade teachers are incorporating English phonics during that time. So it's very targeted English practice. And then every year after that, we increment about 15 minutes. So third grade, they'll have 45 minutes of English instruction. Fourth and fifth grade, that goes up to 60, sometimes 75 minutes a day in English instruction. And then that will take us to our middle school model. And in the middle school, we have a big transition with the kids moving on. That first year, sixth grade, they have a social studies and a Spanish language arts class. And then in seventh grade, they move into Spanish language arts. They have at this time, they have social studies in English, but we offer one trimester of a language essentials class to them. It's a comparative language class, comparing the structures of the language. And in eighth grade, we do the opposite. They have a social studies class in Spanish, and then they have that one try of language essentials. Exploremos is the name of the class, where they have a comparative language study. Something to mention up here is that at the middle school, they receive a cord. If they get through eighth grade, they get their cord for Spanish immersion, and they also earn their 2 credits of high school language credit upon completing eighth grade in the Spanish immersion program, and that's pretty awesome. That's a pretty big deal. And there's another thing that I would like to mention about the middle school is that they have a fabulous trip to Costa Rica that I was privileged enough to attend last summer with our students. It was unbelievable, and the students are able to use their authentic Spanish on that trip, and that's fabulous. That's a great way for them to actually use Spanish in a very authentic way and make memories for a lifetime. At the high school, we have some really exciting things happening here. In ninth grade, our students take world studies, social studies in ninth grade, and that's for 2 trimesters. And that third trimester, they have a language essentials class, because the way their schedule is stacked in ninth grade, there's no room to have an additional Spanish language class. So what we do is we have a language essentials class to keep them moving through that entire year, because we're ramping up to high levels of rigor. When they get to 10th grade, there's a Spanish immersion 10 class for 2 trimesters, and really that is just really adding more language and all those proficiency levels. So that's reading, writing, speaking, listening, to get them ready for 11th and 12th grade. And this is the exciting part here that Rockford offers, and that is that in 11th and 12th grade, our students have a choice to continue into another language if they choose. They can actually take AP Spanish Lang. I love this option for our kids, because if they take that class, pass that test with a 5, they can get up to 16 college credits. And if you have kids in college right now, you know how many dollars that is and how much time that is for the kids after they're able to complete that class. So they can take that in 11th grade if they want. Another option for them is a minor through Ferris State University. I'm really excited that last year they started taking those classes, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a moment. But they can actually use some of their proficiency testing to comp out of some of their credits for language, take a couple of culture classes, and they get a minor. After all those years, that's pretty awesome. That's outstanding for them. So it's a rigorous course, but they have a lot of benefits as immersion students after all those years of Spanish that they had taken. The state of Michigan recognizes them with a seal of biliteracy if they earn intermediate high in all of their proficiencies, reading, writing, speaking, listening. That is quite an honor. They also can take a trip in the high school. That's something that we saw that was missing, and we are organizing a trip right now for them. I'm going to be sending a survey out to the students, asking them where it is that they would like to travel. And that will happen in 2026. It was a little too quick for us to have that happen this summer, but we're going to alternate. Middle school will have a trip one summer, and then the high school will have a trip that opposite year. So we'll just alternate those through the year. So this first one, we're going to ask students where it is that they would like to travel, and then we'll make plans from there. Students in the program. So we start in kindergarten with 27 kindergartners in each classroom. So we have 2 class sections, and then we move up to the middle school and then through the high school. So right now we have 636 students currently enrolled and actively taking immersion courses here in Rockford Public Schools. It's a lot of kids. Pretty exciting. So 2022, 2023, that was my first year here. And I was, like Mr. Ram said, making some observations about all the great things that were happening here. Ferris State University came on board. A lot of people did a lot of legwork to make that happen. And I was really excited to see that the professor, who is the head of the department at Ferris State University, personally comes on campus 2 times a week to teach our students. And in most situations, they would have online classes, hybrid classes. It's very rare to have a professor come on campus. This is a really big deal, and the kids are really enjoying that time with him. We also negotiated, this was a really big deal. They used to have to take a CLEP test to get into a college class, and a lot of us here in this room probably remember those CLEP tests. They're really great, and there's nothing wrong with a CLEP test. It really actually is helpful for kids, but we are already doing some Spanish proficiency testing. So we negotiated with Ferris and said, hey, if what we're looking at is Spanish proficiency for our students, why are we taking 2 tests? Why can't we just take the 1 proficiency test and then have that measure their ability to either enter into the class or test out of some classes? And that's exactly what we did, and our students have been showing great success with that. Nobody had to take a CLEP test this year. So I was really excited about that because that just shows that our proficiency is there. And they see our students, and the professor was like, yeah, we're good. We're good. This feels really good. So I felt like that was a really big win for us as a district and for our students. Professional development last year. We started in the fall. We had a new staff members. I was a new staff member. So what we did is we all rallied around what a Spanish proficiency rubric looks like. We wanted to make sure that we were all using the same terms and using the same rubrics. So we came together and learned about actual standards, and that's how we're going to goal set for our students and move our program forward. So that was really important that we started off strong that way. And then in March, we brought in one of the most renowned immersion professors and researchers. She actually came to Roguewood and spent some time with us, and that was phenomenal. I love spending time with her, and she's going to be back in Grand Rapids in the spring. So hopefully we'll get to see and hear from her again. Program updates. Last year, we systematized our Spanish proficiency testing. The Spanish proficiency testing that we had was used for that seal of biliteracy, so that students could show that they had intermediate high levels of Spanish. But we're testing everything else. We kind of need to know what the health of our Spanish immersion program is and how our kids are acquiring language. So last year we were able to assess our Spanish immersion students. We now have a system for that so that we can kind of monitor their progress. They can goal set with their own proficiency measures, and it helps teachers, it will help families. It's just really a great value add. We started our phonics program last year, and then we now have communication for our families, which goes K-12. That's one thing that I heard loud and clear from our community, that they weren't always sure what was happening in other buildings. So now we just have one means of communication, pretty informal, but it helps all the families understand what's happening at all different levels. So this year we actually were able to get all of our staff together in one place in August for our professional development, and that doesn't happen. Because if you understand, we're talking about all of these professional learning communities, our staff, our immersion staff, they work so hard, but they have added responsibility of the language piece. So it's very difficult to get them all in one room at the same time, and we were able to do that this summer, and I'm very grateful for that. We actually had our paraprofessionals alongside us, and it was K-12. It was fabulous. We are also putting together a monthly professional development of 2 hours at a time. We can only get 2 grade levels at a time together, but we're doing really great things there. There's a conference in Chicago where 2 staff members and myself are going to go bring back all that learning to our staff. There's another conference in Grand Rapids right in our backyard where Roy Lister, who is my favorite, out of Quebec is coming. He is one of the most renowned researchers in immersion education. Diane Teddick from Minnesota and Tara Fortune, along with many other greats that will be presenting some of their research too. We started a new thing this year where we have teachers visiting other programs. We just had 2 first grade teachers visit Ada Vista, looking at some of their resources that they're using for reading intervention. And we have our kindergarten teachers going to El Puente and Jenison. So that's really a great way for us to pick up on new practices, collaborate with other teachers that are in immersion education. Program updates. This year I mentioned that we started a new Spanish Immersion 10 class. Before, there were students after 9th grade not really knowing what to take. Do I take Spanish 4? Do I get into AP? What do I do? And we realized that there was a gap, and we needed to support those students at that level because we were setting them up for very high levels of rigor moving into their 11th and 12th grade years. And that has started off very well. I talked about the Spanish travel for our high schoolers. The only other thing I would like to mention is that this year what we're trying to do is celebrate the Spanish. Our students forget how wonderful and special this is. So at the elementary level, we're giving them tickets to celebrate their extra efforts when they're really, really working hard at their Spanish, because it is hard. It's hard for me all day sometimes to speak in a second language. I can only imagine how difficult it is for our young children. So we're trying to motivate them that way, and then we are also going to start, as of October, nominating students for Student of the Month, but it really is like Spanish Student of the Month. And we're not looking for the kids that are the most eloquent. We're looking for those kids who are really working hard and really trying to learn. So that will start coming out in our Immersion 411, so we'll be able to highlight and recognize all those students, K-12, that are making those great leaps and efforts. Curricular updates, we are looking at Tier 3, which is that level where kids need extra practice. We need some new materials to help them learn in different ways, and we are starting to review some of those materials. We are working on a K-12 scope and sequence, which has not happened yet for the immersion program. And we're going to look at some vocabulary enhancement that we already started this summer. So I'm really excited about that, and then we're going to be bringing in 1, 2, 3 Andres in the spring, along with our SI boosters and our PTO, which is a Grammy-winning bilingual group. So I'm really excited about that. Hopes and dreams for next year. This is the last bit. I'm really hoping that August PD will be able to get together again. My hope would be to bring in Roy Lister. I don't even know. That's just a dream. I haven't really projected that to anybody yet, but it would be really great because he's all about counterbalance instruction. How do we instruct our kids and at the same time layer that language in there so that we are maxing out our time? And he's the master at that. He's done all the research in that, and that would be my hope. Continue our 2-hour PD and have teachers continue to visit other programs. I would love, love, love to bring in a social studies class at that middle school level, because we right now in the 7th grade have English social studies. I would love it if we could switch that over to Spanish social studies so we can maintain 2 class periods required. That opens up electives for our kids, and it also bolsters up the Spanish language. And then we have a staff member. Man, I would love to really use this. She's certified in AP Spanish literature. She came from another district. Wouldn't it be great? Because we currently don't offer that in Rockford Public Schools. That would be so awesome if we could open that up to all students. And then curricular goals, well, we want to implement all those things that we're investigating this year. So we have some great plans in place. We have great staff in place, wonderful families, and that's it. I feel like I just talked like an auctioneer. Do you have any questions for me this evening?
Question. So I wondered if any thought had been or any discussions had been had about expanding the program in the district, like maybe bringing it to another building.
That's a really great question. I know that there have been conversations that people have had with me that would be the wish. We haven't had any formal conversation as of yet, but that's something that I would certainly love to talk about. Yeah, I think that's something that would be really exciting to talk about in the future. Great question.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So are we capped at the 54 coming into kindergarten? That's the max that we can do? Is that like a lottery style system stuff?
It is a lottery system, yeah. Yep, so we have a wait list, and
how many people do you have above that 54 number mark, if you would guess?
well, it depends on every year.
Yeah.
And it depends on how many siblings, right, are coming
Sure.
in. But there have been up to 50, and there have been as low as 11. This last year, we had fewer siblings coming in. We were able to take everybody off of our wait list. So we were really lucky. Yeah, it varies every year. There's a lot of interest.
So if they don't get in the first year, can they come in after that?
No, so like a young fives, they have a choice if they want to enter into lottery during, that young fives, or to get into kindergarten or not. So there's one time per family per lottery. Yeah.
And do you need chaperones for the travel?
Hey, let us know. We would love to bring you. We'd love to bring you along.
I'd like to thank Ms. Santillan for the
for your
leadership
time.
she's given to the program and to the parents and students. I visit the SI program on a regular basis and see those students, and it still amazes me. Last couple of weeks ago, I was there, and kindergartners were doing their math and Spanish, and it's just amazing. So it's a great program, and I'm proud that we have that to offer to our families.
Me too. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, up next, report number 5, Edgerton Trails.
Thank you, Mr. Folsom. Our newest elementary, Edgerton Trails, will open for students in August of '24. It's been in the planning and construction phase for over 2 years, and over the past year we've developed several committees to help us prepare for the opening of Edgerton Trails. And tonight we're going to hear just some brief comments from each of the committee chairs, and we'll start with Mr. Cuneo on Building and Site.
Thanks, Dr. Matthews. Yes, I will be brief. Just two phases. One, a construction phase. Stopped by the building today, and it's pretty incredible the progress that they've made since last month when OAK gave an update on the construction. If you go there now, all the pavement has been laid. The curves have all been laid. The actual playground equipment is in place right now. We're just waiting for the surface to come in. In the interior side, we're waiting for all the windows to come in so that they can effectively close the building and then put heat in there so that they can finish the inside. So we've been given the guarantee that we're going to be, at this point in time, that we're going to be given the keys in a timely fashion, which will be June of 2024, okay? But of course, as a part of that is one of the different committees that we have is one is the redrawing of boundaries. And just briefly, we have actually formed a committee, have actually already met last year, or last winter, a couple times, which consists of 8 people, 3 elementary principals. We also have director of operations. We also have different maintenance staff on there, and various others that represent the district itself. Ultimately, the goal is to develop criteria to show what sort of lines we're going to redraw, and then ultimately bring that through the board committees here in the next couple of months, with the idea of fine-tuning what we have and being able to provide a communication strategy so we can effectively communicate to the community of what's been decided, okay? And then also get feedback from them as well. Our plan is to present preliminary lines in the December meeting for the board to take a look at and make recommendations, with the idea that in the wintertime there would be a formal approval process. But that's where we are at this point in time.
Thank you, Mr. Cuneo. We'll go to Corey Wilson-Crawford for Human Resources.
Thank you. Like Mr. Cuneo, I've been chairing a committee with Mindy Duba, who serves as a co-chair of the Human Resources Committee. We have 11 people on the committee. They are elementary administrators, parents, representatives from all of our unions, as well as support staff members who may be in elementary leadership. And so we have been working, we met 5 times last year. Our last meeting culminated in a tour of the building, so it's a lot further along now than it was in June when we were in the building with the committee. Most of our work will actually come after those district attendance lines are solidified. It's really difficult to plan for staffing for a building if you don't know who's coming to the building and what the size of the building would be. But one of our main tasks that we did complete last year was we created a profile for the ideal leader of that building. That profile was then forwarded on to the cabinet, and then from there we made a recommendation to the Board of Education, and ultimately we selected, with your approval, Shannon Olette to serve on that as the principal of Edgerton Trails. And so Shannon, who you saw earlier today, will be serving in that capacity, and she will be very involved in the HR committee, as you might imagine, once we start the actual planning of the building. One of the most common questions that I receive is from staff wondering what might happen. So staff are starting to ask some questions around, will people be transferred? How will this look? Maybe if they're in an elementary building that the attendance is going to be shifted greatly, they're wondering if they will get to go to the new building. Some of them don't want to go to the new building. They wonder if they're going to be forced to the new building. So those are all things that we will work through that committee, but ultimately we'll come up with a staffing plan and then an onboarding plan that we'll share with instruction to make sure that when our building opens in August of '24, our staff are prepared and ready to receive students. So, and I'll take any questions you might have.
We'll save questions till we get all the reports. Mr. Ram is in charge of the instruction committee.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. I too have a committee representative of different stakeholders from around the district, so principals, teachers, parents, and there are 9 people on our committee. And really, when you look at the opening of the new elementary, what it's asked us to do is look at elementary programming in our district, right? So we want to think about the programming that's going to be afforded to every single elementary kid, no matter if they go to Lakes or Edgerton Trails. And so that has asked us to also think about what new opportunities exist that we can bring online with the opening of the new school. So we've thought a lot about the instructional template and design of the school day for every single elementary student. What does it, we call it guaranteed and viable curriculum, what does every student get every single day? Of course, that's going to be the same way in the new building. We also have some design around the way in which we facilitate instruction to suggest that sometimes, as you heard in today's presentation by Mrs. Olette, sometimes students need additional learning, and that has to happen during the same time. She called it flex time. We talk about it as tier 2. And so the building and the architecture of the building have some opportunity within these extended learning areas that are present in the building. And so we're thinking about how we can get ready for instructional design across our district, but also to take advantage of the opportunity by the design of the building to promote some extended learning opportunities as well. We also have to think about, in our committee, some of the DK students in the district. We have 4 DK classrooms at Edgerton Trails Elementary, and so we want to think about maybe how that may disperse our DK population. So we're planning for those pieces, probably to come online similar with some of the boundary discussions and our work as well too. And then, the 2 other programs that we're just kind of making sure that we're ready for. Number 1, is as you know, we've escalated some STEAM programming. You heard about that here tonight. So when we have our new elementary come online, we'll have some increased STEAM programming, so we're scaffolding or building up to that. And one that we are still working with is there's some great opportunity around outdoor learning at Edgerton Trails Elementary. And so we are thinking about how we can use that space to be an outdoor learning hub, bring students from across the district for some programming that may benefit them. So we're looking at clearly what opportunity exists on the space, and then what programming can we build so that we can think about not only the students at Edgerton Elementary, but across our district to give them those experiences. So those are some of the pieces that we're working on, and we'll continue to meet throughout the year.
Thank you, Mr. Rand. And our last committee is communications, and Lisa Jacobs is head of that committee.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Actually, a very unique opportunity that I've had is I actually had the opportunity to be a part of many of the other committees that meet. And so with that being said, been able to really get a great understanding for from now until Edgerton Trails opens. So today we launched the Edgerton Trails Elementary School webpage. So if you take a look under the schools tab, you will see the Edgerton Trails page. There are 3 pieces to this webpage that I would like to mention. And again, this is just a collaboration of all of the work that's been done to this point with the other committees, but at the top of the page, you will find the timeline. So from this point forward, you will have a timeline as to the highlights that will occur with Edgerton Trails. So as you will see, some of the very important pieces through the course of the year regarding staffing and attendance boundaries, as well as curriculum and instruction programming, also open houses, and all of the main highlights across the top of the page. Also, you will have an update from our new principal, and that was found right in the middle of the page. Shannon Olette provided kind of an opening thoughts and note to everyone in regards to Edgerton Trails. And so she and I met, and it was great. We had the opportunity to do a mini photo shoot at Edgerton Trails Elementary and post some of the pictures on the page as well. The last piece that I would like to highlight is an update section that you will find to the right of the page. And one of the first updates that we have posted there is a great opportunity that Mike Ram led a conversation with MLive, and the opportunity for the district and Mr. Ram to meet with MLive reporter and provide a great introduction to our new elementary school that will open next fall, fall of 2024. So a very exciting time for all of us, and we hope that you visit this page on occasion to find, maybe some additional notes throughout the course of the year from Principal Olette, as well as other opportunities that we will have in the media to be able to highlight our new elementary school as we make progress to the opening. So thank you.
So tonight, we just wanted to remind the district that Edgerton Trails is coming, and if you have additional questions for any of the four committee chairs, certainly it would be an opportunity to ask those from the board tonight. But if the board gets additional questions over the course of the next several months, you can always email or call one of the committee chairs, and they'll be certainly happy to take your call.
I get asked about boundaries a lot, so I appreciate her December preliminary and January approval, so look forward to that.
I just have a question, just to know, I'm thinking that the DK sections, so for Corey and Mr. Ram, are we talking about adding new sections or just changing the location of the 12 or 13 that we have now?
From an HR perspective, the DK sections fluctuate every year. It's based on enrollment, so sometimes we have 13 sections, sometimes we have 15 sections. And so to me, the enrollment trend would be the determining factor of how many overall district DK sections we have. Now, where we place those sections, I think, I would work with Mike and Mike.
Okay, so it's we're not firming it up. I just wanted to make sure, I heard 4 at that building. I didn't know what the math was going to look like, so.
I don't know what the math is going to look like either. I usually don't know.
It is. Okay, that's really answering my strategic question. Thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, I glanced at the website. I appreciate that. Looks good. Yep, thanks. All right, and then we're moving on then to reports. Item 6, our RAM strategic plan update.
In December of 2021, continuing along history, the Board of Education approved RAMS 11, a blueprint for continuous improvement of the Rockford Public Schools. The board action identified the RAMS 11 was to guide the district for the next 3 years. The RAMS document has been the guiding document since I began my tenure here in the Rockford Public Schools as superintendent, and our collective actions as a district leadership team have been guided by the goals outlined in RAMS 11. In preparation for the 24-25 school year, it's proposed that we prepare a RAMS 12 document that will be approved by the Board of Education in August of 2024. The timing of the creation of this new RAMS 12 document is not coincidental. The start of the 24-25 school year will bring significant changes and new opportunities to our district. Edgerton Trails Elementary will open. Shannon Olette will move from Belmont Elementary to Edgerton Trails as the new principal. This move will result in a new principal for Belmont Elementary. The new addition at North Rockford Middle School will be open. Right, Mr. Cuneo? Right. The new gym at Roguewood will be open. With these significant building and site and personnel changes, it seems appropriate to take stock, reevaluate where we are as a district, and identify where we want to go. Most importantly, the RAMS 12 document will give us a chance as a district and community to identify our vision for our graduates, what knowledge, skills, and mindsets do our students need to be successful in an ever-changing and complex world. RAMS 12 will provide our district with the opportunity to identify our hopes, dreams, and aspirations for our students. To create RAMS 12, we need a plan. Our proposed plan is as follows. There will be 6 planning groups which will collect data from the district. There will be a core values group. We have core values and collective commitments that the district identified several years ago. We're going to reevaluate those. We're going to have groups that will look at student feedback, parent feedback, community leaders feedback, staff feedback, and then a group that is helping to organize the whole effort. The 6 planning groups will operate with this approximate timeline. We're collecting data into December. By February, some common themes will be identified. Parents, students, and staff will comb through the data that's collected to identify these priority themes. By March 15th, vision, mission, and guiding principle statements will be created. Again, parents, students, and staff will create the vision, mission, and guiding principles. The statements will be presented to the Board of Education as draft statements to guide the development of goals. By May 15th, district goals for the 24-25 through the 26-27 school years will be developed. District goals will use the draft vision, mission, and guiding principle statements to guide the development of short, long-term, and ongoing goals, and staff will work to create these goals. June and July, draft RAMS 12 will be presented to the Board of Education for review. The draft will be available for review and editing before final approval. And at the August 12th, 2024 board meeting, final RAMS 12 document will be presented to the Board of Education for approval. Through this process, the district, our students, parents, community members, staff, and Board of Education will create an aspirational document that will challenge us to meet the needs of our students and provide them with the knowledge, skills, and mindsets needed to be successful once they graduate from our district. Tonight, this outline is presented to the board and community to keep you informed of how we're moving forward and the development of our next guiding document, RAMS 12. And no action is really needed this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Questions on that? Okay, lots more to come. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, moving on then to recognition of our visitors and hearing of people present. I've got my list. I'd like to take a moment to outline the guidelines for the public comment portion of our meeting. First and foremost, we value and welcome your input and feedback. We believe a collaborative relationship between our schools and the Rockford community is essential to achieving our shared goals. Public comment at the board meeting is intended to give the Rockford community an opportunity to address the board on issues in the Rockford Public Schools. At our meetings, the board and individual board members will not directly respond to comments or questions that arise during the public participation portion of the meeting. If a follow-up is needed, the superintendent will contact the speaker for additional insight or to provide clarification. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. This helps us accommodate as many speakers as possible and ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity to express their views. Please be respectful in your comments and refrain from using inappropriate language or engaging in personal attacks. We want to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable expressing their opinions without fear of retribution or harassment. To ensure due process and respect for individual rights, the district maintains a formal process for handling complaints against individuals. If you have a problem involving an individual or a specific incident, we encourage you to consider addressing it through administrative channels by contacting the superintendent's office. Furthermore, we ask that speakers express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. While it is not our intent to stifle public comment, speakers should be aware that if your statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, you will be held legally responsible. If you are unsure of the legal ramifications of what you're about to say, we urge you to consult first with your legal advisor. We encourage you to provide constructive feedback and suggestions for improvement. Your comments can help us identify areas where we can improve our schools and better serve our students and families. We thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts. We look forward to work together to ensure that our schools continue to be a source of pride for our community. Lastly, please remember that public comment at our board meetings is one way we hear feedback from the community. It is certainly not the only way. Those who prefer other means to communicate, do so via email, through the district website, or by calling the superintendent's office, just to name a couple. So with that said, we have 10 people signed up to speak tonight. Starting at the top of the list, we have our timer set. And speakers, if you don't mind, please come on up to the podium so we can get you loud and clear. Up first is Lily Davey.
in 5th grade at Crestwood Elementary. I want to tell you my 11 favorite things about my school because I am turning 11 today. First thing I'm going to tell you about is my music class. It's really fun and because we get to change what we are doing all the time. You can have a variety of different music. I also love to read. I like it for breaks and when we have extra time. We get to read in a book of choice and it's fun, quiet, and relaxing. Art is amazing too because you can draw and craft all sorts of fun things. I like how at the high school there are opportunities to play sports. I've played lacrosse and I'm giving field hockey a try right now. I like to run around and find out what sports are for me. In science, we did an experiment with worms we found outside. We did a mold terrarium and we talked about spores and mushrooms that we grew over dead things. Read aloud is fun. You get to hear a story instead of just reading it in your head, and it's a relaxing, nice break for reading in your day. I like to close my eyes and picture the story in my head. Class jobs are cool because you can do different jobs around the school and you get to pick the job that you like the best. And if you don't like the job, you can change it next month. I like partner work because working by yourself is sometimes hard. And when you get a partner, you have a lot more ideas because there's 2 heads instead of 1. Friends are a great thing about my school. I love hanging out with my friends and talking to them. My friends are special to me because they're always kind and they have really cool ideas. And the teachers have been really great because they'll help me no matter what, even if I make a mistake. Votes. Why do I like votes, you ask? I like votes because I like how kids get to pick their leaders. It's the way kids get to be recognized by their peers. We vote on things like student council and yearbook covers. STEAM is so fun. We get to have it even more this year, and I like STEAM because it has a lot of problem solving and creativity. There is so much trial and error, and you can work on a problem again and again, and it's so fun to have STEAM more often. I'm so glad I got to share my 11 favorite things with you on my 11th birthday. Thank you for helping me make my favorite things possible and for listening.
Happy birthday. Thank you so much.
I remember these from last year. Thanks, Lisa.
I'd like to recommend that every speaker has to
All right, up next we have Elise Baby.
Hello, Dr. Matthews and board. Thank you for having us tonight. I have been working in the Rockford Public Schools. This is my 11th year. I worked 4 years in Sparta actually, so I've had some experience in 2 different districts. I know that I come probably with my educator hat on, but tonight I want to have my parent hat on and just address, like my daughter Lily, some really great things I've observed as a parent. I have 3 children in Rockford Public Schools, and our unique experience is we are a school of choice family. So when our children were little, you know, the gates were wide open. Luckily, Michigan has school of choice as an option, and we went with Sparta at first because I was actually teaching there, and then we decided on Rockford because there were all these opportunities, and we really wanted our girls to have just a plethora of things that they could try. We were a little nervous because Rockford is very, very large. I actually went to a large school district when I was in school. I went to Wild Lake Central, and that had about 400 graduating kiddos. And so I was like, oh gosh, another big school, but we were willing to give it a try. My daughter Lola is in 11th grade. She's in the marching band, and if you know anything about the marching band, they are like superb. She's on the drum line, and she calls the drum line her brothers. Well, she has one sister. Most of them are boys, but there is one other girl on the drum line. She's made friends, been able to go on trips. She's learned what it means to persevere. She runs track, and she's varsity lettered twice. She wants to go into law, and I credit that to all of her teachers and just people that have been surrounding her in her education. She has drive, determination, and I feel really confident as I launch her after next year into the world that she's ready. My daughter Lucy is in 8th grade. She's at East. Right now she is all into swim. Right now it's actually Rockford Riptide. It's club swim. Many of you may know what that is. For those of you that don't, it's a club swim, and it filters into middle school and high school swimmers. Coach Ethan is the coach, and he's the assistant coach at the high school. She loves it. She also does water polo, school swim. She has lots and lots of friends, very, very social, makes almost all the home games. She runs track, and she did cross country for 2 years. Lily, you just met, she's in 5th grade. She actually goes to Crestwood with me. She's been there DK through 5th. She loves Explore, STEAM. She loves votes like yearbook cover, student council. She's tried lacrosse, Lego club, and field hockey. I just wanted to take the time to thank you, administration and the school board, for providing such a caring district with caring people in it. Myself as a parent, and my husband who's also a teacher in a different district, we're just really thankful that we can send our kids here every day and know that they're well cared for.
Okay, up next, we'll reset the timer, is Brenda Wodarski. Brenda here.
Hi there, I'm going to kind of bounce all over the place because there's many numerous topics that I want to address. I want to start off addressing the salary and the review of our superintendent, and remind everybody to also review what our chief of police makes and the lives that he is responsible for. And we are, you know, everyone knows we're in an inflation of 11 to 18%, but if we can pass that percentage on to parapros and lunch leaders or anybody else, that would be greatly appreciated, as they're making the minimal amount going on there. I also want to talk about the 3 areas of discernment. One is courage, one is intuition, and one is faith. And to clarify truth, truth is different than opinion. 2 + 2 is always 4. So we have many opinions going on throughout the school that have nothing to do with curriculum. And as to why they're being introduced in the curriculum is beyond me. So focus on the reading, the writing, the math, and the arithmetic, and keep your politics out of it. I also want to go into, you know, once again addressing girls going into boys' bathrooms and boys going into my daughter's locker room during homecoming. Now, we need to have ways for our kids to be able to defend themselves against this happening. This is wrong. These kids are under 18, and this should never, ever, ever, ever happen in a public K-12 school with my tax dollars. So these concerns being thrown off by teachers, superintendents, nothing is to be done but humiliating the boys who are urinating in a stall with a girl walking in, or people such as my daughter being addressed as she's not the victim. That needs to be stopped, and stopped immediately. Immediately. Our children are to feel safe when they're in school. Period. Safe. That is disgusting. I want to encourage, once again, as when my kids first started going here, we received emails regarding school board meetings. Why are there not emails sent out anymore? Emails to all parents were sent out, and I know this was stopped to discourage people like myself from attending board meetings, as well as the 5-hour rule, to be able to talk, to silence people's voices. So once again, that is huge. I know you mentioned a little bit about test scores and those in the education system, such as myself. I used to be a school teacher, early childhood too, and the test scores have been revamped so you guys can still receive your funding. So anybody in the school system knows that. I also want to talk about Axe My Tax. Please look at that. Say no to the open millage program. And I also want to say, as I'm telling my kids, if I see someone in a mask, I will assume that they are sick, so they shouldn't be here. Thank you.
Next on the list is Mark Meyer. Oh, sure.
Good evening, everyone. We're the Meyer family. This is our daughter, Annika, and we're here to express our gratefulness tonight. We have no issues to discuss, but we have our oldest is Cam. He's a junior at Rockford, and Annika and her twin Bodie are in 8th grade at East. We are a Crestwood family. We're here tonight to share a little story about our family and just talk a little bit about Annika's return to school after 2 years out. She was diagnosed with a cancerous brain tumor at the end of June of 2021. It changed our family forever, changed everything forever. However, what we're here to talk tonight about is her return to school. She has been homebound for 2 years, homebound through Rockford. We anticipated a return to school in 6th grade. That did not happen. The team, starting with Mindy Duba, the administration at East, even teachers at Crestwood and teachers at the high school, all worked together to try to get us back to school in 7th grade. Unfortunately, additional health challenges did not allow Annika to return. However, we started working this spring towards a really robust return to school program for Annika. There are a lot of health challenges. There are a lot of challenges that Annika brings to the table, and we were given, some advice from people all over the spectrum to say, watch yourselves, bring an advocate, you have to be there to protect your child. And we went into it as a partnership. We went into it as we believe that everyone on Annika's return to school team, all the administration, the board, everyone, wanted to see her back. From people visiting her in the hospital, people visiting her at Mary Free Bed, people coming to our home to talk to her, sitting down with Mindy and the team this summer to say, what does she need? The nurses were involved, the PT was involved. Everything that Annika needs to be at school safely has been provided. Mark and myself and our family, we have a lot that we have to deal with as the hub of the wheel when you have health challenges like Annika has, let alone dealing with a 16-year-old and 2 14-year-olds and life in general. But we have not had to be the hub of the wheel on this return to school. We have been able to take the role of parents. We have been able to be partners with the team. From a back to school celebration to making sure that she has a nurse with her at all times, to providing the correct lift that she requires to get in and out of her wheelchair. The students have been amazing. The parents have been amazing. We have gotten so many texts and emails from people in the school that have talked to us about how wonderful everyone has been in welcoming her back. And the most important thing is she's back with her twin after 2 years away. So we're very grateful. Anything to add?
And she smiles going in and smiles coming out every day.
So thank you. Please pass along to the right people. We're so very grateful.
You got the red screen.
Thank you very much. Up next is Leah Quintanilla.
Hello, I'm Leah. This is my daughter Rhea. You don't have to hide. And I will be brief, but I'm just here to just show support for Amy, and also just to express our gratitude for the Spanish immersion program and how much we love it. We've had such a great experience. Rhea is in 3rd grade, and then my son Asher, who chose to not come up here with us, is in 5th grade. And we have just had the best experience with Rockford schools and specifically Spanish immersion. And just one quick story when I knew, like, okay, this is working. This was last year. Rhea likes to make YouTube videos. She's
I have a YouTube channel now.
Well, it's and when she was doing her little video, and then a couple minutes later, I heard her doing another video, but she was doing it all in Spanish. And I was like, what? Yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually working. Like, she knows how to speak Spanish. She wasn't reading. So just, again, wanted to express our gratitude. Rhea, did you want to say something?
Sure. So I really like Spanish immersion because it's a privilege to me because like most of my friends like out of the school aren't bilingual, and I'm like, if I'm having a sleepover with my friend, I'm like the only one who knows a different language, and it's kind of fun also having English time because like when you're stuck in Spanish, it's kind of hard, but it's really fun.
Thank you, Rhea. And then lastly, my husband, Miguel Quintanilla, is the president of the SI Boosters, and he wasn't able to come, so he made me come on his behalf. But he did promise Dr. Matthews a Spanish immersion shirt, and so I'm going to present that to you tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, he's good for his work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next is Betsy Verwise. Sorry if I didn't say that right. You can correct me.
Thank you. 25 years ago, my husband Jeremy and I chose Rockford to live and raise our children, and during that time I've attended 3 board meetings. 2001 when I accepted a teaching position at the high school, 2017 when our son was on the water polo team and won the state championship, and today, 8 months before our youngest graduates from Rockford High School, and today is the saddest of the 3. For a variety of reasons, I found myself watching Board of Ed recordings back to March, and frankly I was astounded with what I saw, speechless actually, which for those of you that know me is no small thing. So I'm here today to apologize for the behavior of my fellow community members. Notice I did not say fellow parents, because in many cases they do not have children attending the district, which is absolutely their right and their choice. But these people have misused the label of Christian or conservative or American to stand on one or more of those platforms, to throw insults, to hurl threats and lobby lies against you collectively and as individuals, and I'm sorry. While these voices might be the loudest, they are certainly not the only and not even close to the majority. So today I come to you as an actual mom of an actual student enrolled at Rockford High School. I have 2 master's degrees in secondary English education, with one of them in young adult literature. When I saw the video and the comment of rage that the Rockford High School library had a section to recognize banned books, I couldn't help but think of the many nationally recognized authors, Stephen King notwithstanding, who have said in one form or another, when you hear that a book has been banned, you should run, not walk to the nearest library to get a copy and find out why. I provided a copy of Common Sense Media's article on why kids should read banned books for everyone in the room. And this is ultimately why I'm here today. There are 2 main reasons why people want to have books banned. The first is they are coming from a place of privilege. They have not had to walk through the heartbreak and hardships of watching their own child suffer through an identity crisis, questioning their gender, their sexuality, and ultimately their place in the world. Those parents who do walk through this every day are not the ones you'll see up here or the voices that you'll hear, because they are trying to protect their children or simply survive walking through a very difficult journey. And while this is not the experience of my own children, I've walked this path with counsel of other parents. It's from a place of privilege that one parent can stand here and demand that a book or a type of book be removed from a library when another parent's child might read that book and for the first time find someone who looks just like them. The second reason why we talk about banning books is out of fear, because parenting is hard. It requires a full-time investment in our children's lives. So a parent's rights and freedoms, which you have legally, rightfully, and publicly given here to choose which potentially offensive books are available to their own children to read, extends only as far as their own child. It does not and should not ever infringe on the rights or privileges of another parent or their child. As parents, Jeremy and I alone are ultimately responsible for the moral center of our children's upbringing. And our children have made mistakes along the way, ones we've had to parent through, own, and suffer the consequences of. This is both our right and responsibility as parents. As an education system, it is your job to educate our kids, to provide access and equity to all students, to introduce them to concepts, ideologies, to inform them of their rights and responsibilities, to become thoughtful members of a local community. That's your job. Today, my son is serving tonight in the U.S. military abroad, selflessly defending the First Amendment rights of people with whom I absolutely disagree to stand up here and state their mind publicly and freely. Rockford Public Schools, I think we've done a pretty good job, don't you? Me on my end, and you on yours. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Up next is Andrea Jacobson.
Good evening, Dr. Matthews, Board of Education and Central Office Administration. Thank you for your dedication and hard work in ensuring that our schools provide the best possible education for Rockford's children. As we have seen tonight, the student achievement trends are demonstrating that Rockford's efforts in creating a safe, inclusive, and innovative learning environment are fostering growth and success of all of our students, and we're seeing positive results. While I have a middle school student, and it's not without its typical teenage challenges, we as a family have loved watching our son grow as a student and an individual through his interactions with classmates, including Annika, and teachers. He is learning skills on how to advocate for himself and how to handle challenges. We have had some interesting conversations about what our son thinks is important for him to know and be able to do when he graduates. One of the top things on his list is social interactions, especially in a future work setting. As work on the new strategic plan is beginning, I would encourage you to include middle school students in the student feedback portion of the strategic plan development if you aren't already doing so. Thank you for all of your work. I'm proud to be a Rockford parent. Also, because Myers ran out of time, they have a fantastic foundation that I encourage you all to look into. I've volunteered with them. It does amazing things benefiting pediatric brain cancer research. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Okay, up next is Dwayne Critter.
I had come here tonight not really wanting to speak about anything. I was going to kind of lay off a little bit, but I had to. Never failed to get here without learning something during the meeting. I got to speak to it. So I'm one of those people that have no children. Nobody knows why. Nobody needs to know why. But I don't have any children. That doesn't mean I don't want to look out for their safety and their well-being. I've attended over 40 school board meetings in the last 3 years, 3.5 years, county meetings, township meetings, to speak to the people that are sitting here that are making decisions for your children. And for someone to call me out and say I don't belong here, I've been paying taxes for over 50 years, people, longer than many of you have been alive. So to stand here and tell me I can't speak to what's going on in schools is wrong in my book. Thank you. I wanted to thank this fellow over here, I forget your name, sir, for placing the flags correctly this time. I'm very happy to see that you've done it properly. Thank you.
Last on this night is Charles Curtis.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm giving you a little bit of a forewarning, I think, that hope you will look at and maybe take seriously. Recently, the CDC made a recommendation to mask children down to 2 years of age. And as a result, likely you'll have in the near future face the pressure to impose masks, perhaps, on Rockford students. And by now we should all know what a complete disaster masking was on our children during COVID, for a virus less dangerous to children than the yearly flu, and to purpose never ever to let that happen again. In case we forget, this review, which you have in your hand is of a German study, meta-study, is a crystal clear reminder of some of the many harms masking can cause. It is common sense as well as scientific reality that masking will inhibit breathing, restrict oxygen, and increase carbon dioxide rebreathing. Mandated masking by OSHA standards is also illegal. The Kizilinsky study reminds us just how dangerous this is, particularly to vulnerable children, resulting in neuron death, learning impairment, stillbirths, birth defects, and testicular toxicity. Clearly, the cure of masking is far worse than the disease and must be completely rejected. If you want to take a look at the study, this is a review of the study. It's a German study called the Kizilinsky study. It gives you some information on masking, the dangers of masking, and the consequences. It has 172 references in the study itself. If you turn to the second page, at the top of the second page, the data shows that fresh air has a 0.04% CO2 rate. And wearing masks more than 5 minutes elevates that by 75% into a very toxic range. Animal studies show that a 0.3% CO2 has irreversible neuron damage, neuron destruction, increased anxiety, impaired learning, and memory. A 0.5% CO2 affects testicular toxicity in adolescents and damages fertility. A 0.8% CO2, this is animal studies, creates stillbirths in animals. This study included close to 26,000 children wearing face masks for 270 minutes, approximately a day. And 68% complained of discomfort. And side effects include irritability, headache, difficulty concentrating, less happy, reluctance to go to school, etc., etc. And so the conclusion on the back page is the harm being caused by masking is very serious. Even a few minutes of wearing a surgical mask and you initiate the following long-term damages. Irreversible neuron damage.
Sir, time up, please.
Thank you. Anyway.
That concludes our public comment portion. Moving on to the last item, superintendent remarks. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Folsom. Our next board meeting will be after the November 7th election. One of the items on the ballot is the Parks and Rec millage that will be voted on this fall, which is a renewal of a millage that was passed first in 2004 by the voters of Rockford. This millage will support our gyms, fields, and playgrounds. It will support the recreational programming that we provide through community services for youth, adults, and senior citizens. And it allows us to fund maintenance on playgrounds and gyms that are used by the community. And it is a tax that helps to keep our general fund money for our classrooms and staff. And the vote is November 7th, and information is available on our district website. And we've been, Mr. Cuneo, Ms. Clements, and I have been going around the district to talk to the staff and to various parent groups and community groups about this important millage, and we would encourage people to inform themselves about this and to vote on November 7th. Absentee ballots are currently available in all of the voting locations. I have been in every building over the course of the start of this school year, and I would echo the comments that Ms. Olette and Dr. Amshay had this evening that identified some of the very good things that are going on in our schools each day, for I have seen those as I've walked through the halls and been in the classrooms and sat in the lunchroom with students around the district. Our schools do more than teach content, and our parents expect us to teach more than content. Our staff help students find jobs in our community. Our staff help students learn to deal with disappointment. Our staff gives students responsibility. And our staff help our students learn how to create a welcoming and supportive environment for all of our students. And our staff create an environment where our students are prepared to be successful now and in their future. And the last thing I'd like to mention this evening is this month is National Principals Month. Being a principal is often a thankless job. When things go well, no one remembers to thank them, but when things fall apart, no one forgets you. And tonight, I would like to express my appreciation to our building level leaders who every day go above and beyond to support our students and staff. Thank you for all that you do to build great teams, help students, support families, and ensure that our buildings create an environment that our students want to be in. And that's my report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews, and we are adjourned.